The White House has provided no details about when or how those tariffs would be levied since that post. This morning, Prime Minister Mark Carney was asked to respond to Trump's latest threat on his way into Liberal caucus on Parliament Hill here in Ottawa. Have a listen.
We have commitments under CUSMA that not to pursue free trade agreements with non-market economies without prior notification. We have no intention of doing that with China or any other non-market economy. What we've done with China is to rectify some issues that developed in the last couple of years.
Have you spoken to Donald Trump?
This latest threat from Trump is garnering a lot of reaction here in Ottawa and across the country. For more on that, I'm joined now by CTV senior political correspondent Mike Couteur. Mike, let's talk a little bit about what we just heard from the Prime Minister, really his first statement since that, to reporters since that initial speech in Davos, which we'll talk about later on in the show. Really an attempt there to say, hey, this thing with China is not as big as Trump seems to now be characterizing it, though I think it's fair to point out Trump a few days ago didn't think it was a big deal.
Yeah, and to your point, Trump had said, yeah, it's good for Mark Carney and for Canada to go and make a deal with China, and obviously now that has changed. And it's interesting, I don't think it's tailoring the message, but certainly the Prime Minister and the Canadian government is making some alterations to it right now, because it was back in Beijing, sitting across the table from President Xi, that Prime Minister Carney said that this progress that we've made in the partnership sets up well for the new world order. And then he repeated that in Davos, talking about different worlds and the middle powers having to come together, and now sort of minimizing what was happening, saying we're resetting the relationship with China. And even in that clip that he was speaking to reporters, saying, look, this is essentially going back to the future and making sure that things return to the way they were before the trade war with China. Certainly this government is trying to, as much as they can, reframe what we are seeing there and how Donald Trump has reacted to it. Because up until this point, Vashi, this was a full steam ahead. We are very happy with what's going on in China, the Canadian government is, and painting it as something very positive. And to the point that he had made, there is an article in COSMA, it's Article 3210, about non-market countries and making a free trade agreement with them. And it does say that you need at least 3 months notice prior to commencing any kind of negotiations on a new free trade agreement with a non-market country such as China. And in point 5 says entry by a party into a free trade agreement with a non-market country will allow the other parties to terminate the agreement on 6 months' notice. The President of the United States has not given any type of notice, to the point that you had made. We're not hearing anything else from the White House other than this threat of 100% tariffs. And we know with President Donald Trump, there are threats. And as Derek Burney, former ambassador, had said on Friday, it's sometimes talk out. Trump always chickens out.
Yeah, certainly with the last sort of 10% tariffs in a response to Doug Ford's ad, that Reagan ad, that has never materialized. Right. So we'll keep our eyes peeled. Thanks a lot, Mike. Appreciate it.